Hello everybody and welcome back to my channel. Of course, as always, I am your host Sculpted. Thank you so much everybody for coming back and checking out this video. Essentially what this video is going to be, it's just going to be a real quick run through of all the news that we got from the recent sources such as IGN, Polygon, Eurogamer, and all of those other sources. I also went ahead and went over to the YouTube channels of Gaijin Hunter as well as Eric's Gaming, because of course they, with them being, you know, higher influencers with the game series, which hopefully we will get there at some point, they do get exclusive interviews and just more bits of information that I do not have the accessibility to. So definitely I'll be sure to put the link to both their YouTube channels down below in the description, as well as all the news articles that you guys want to go ahead and take a look at yourself. Of course, by now this is, I would go as far as to say to consider this as old news, because this has been pretty much known ever since about Wednesday-ish, and we got more information as the week went on. So I do forgive me for this being a little older. I try to get this information out to you guys as quickly as I can. But anyway, essentially I'm just going to shoot through everything that I have real quickly. I tried to have it organized as much as possible in specific categories, so bear with me on this. But without further ado, let's go ahead and get into this. So of course, throughout the interviews and just bits of information that we got, I don't have the specifications as to which part of information this came from, so feel free to research it yourself. But here's all the information that we do have. So essentially, the category that I'm going to be sticking with right now, this is going to be essentially the best of both worlds. Now, when I say this, it means that they're going to be taking mechanics or ideas or just general concepts of the game, and how they implemented it in the Rise is going to be very similar to things that were in Monster Hunter Generations Ultimate, so the older styles of games, and Monster Hunter World. So to start this off, in terms of the armor and decoration system with using armor skills and decorations, they did say that this is going to be very similar. Actually, no, forgive me. This is going to be something that is going to be very unique to its own genre. So it's going to be a whole new system that we haven't seen before. They said that they're going to be taking elements from the old style of games as well as the new style such as World, and implementing that in its own unique way in Rise. So that's really exciting. From there, this is a return of something that I welcome very generously to my heart, which is going to be the 4-player lobbies. Now, in World, it was the first game they implemented where you have 16 players in one lobby. However, as you all may know, it's pretty much a ghost town. Absolutely nobody used the gathering hubs, literally just because of the fact that you could use the Sos Flare. So what's the point of going into the gathering hub just to go into a quest? So that being said, though, SOS flares are going to be coming back. So even though we do have the 4-player lobbies, which is just a lot more friendly with mobile units for Nintendo Switch and just mobile gaming and just making things easier and less taxing on the hardware, the SOS flare is still sticking around. So if you still want to hot drop into someone's quest in the middle of it, I don't know if it's going to be used as an SOS flare still, but the mechanics of being able to drop into someone's quest is definitely going to be sticking around. Now, that being said, too, in the older games, when it comes to event quests, when you came out with new event quests, when they released new ones, so you can get new armor pieces or collaborations and whatnot, the quests were permanent. You didn't have to wait for certain periods, because if you were to wait for a certain period, that would mean you would have to be connected to the Wi-Fi. Your system has to be talking to the servers of Capcom for them to say, yes, this is the week in which you can do this quest. While with them wanting to stick to being more mobile friendly, the quests, you just simply go into a menu in the game itself and you just download them to your system's storage, so then that way you just always have access to them, whether you're on the go or connected to Wi-Fi. So the quests are going to be permanent for events. You don't have to wait for certain periods like you do in World. And then of course from there, that being said, offline single player story is going to be completely different from the quests that you can do online. So they're both going to have their own quest lines that you will have to do. So offline will stick with its own specific quest line for you to progress through the story, to unlock certain things, and then once you get comfortable or you want to get to a point where you can play with your friends, Then you go ahead and go into the 4-man lobbies, which of course specifies its own separate online quests. So that's how they had it in the older games. Well, now they kind of mixed the story of single player in with the multiplayer in a way. So that is no longer going to be the case. They are going to be very independent. Outside of that, now this is something that everybody, I would go as far as to say, liked but didn't at the same time. When it comes to cutscenes, now these are going to be skippable. So even though you have the story, or if there are cutscenes that introduce the monster, you do not have to watch them if you just want to have a more smooth experience when playing online with your friends. So you don't have to worry about a cutscene before joining the other person and just going through that nonsense. So that's a cool added feature. At least it gives you that option. And then from there, the cool thing that they are going to be bringing back as well is the scalable monsters, depending on the amount of players that you have. Now, this was never the case in all the games until World, and that wasn't actually even the case for World until recently. Scalable monsters was something that they added relatively, I would say, halfway through the life of Monster Hunter World, probably even later. So that is something that they're going to be bringing because, well, in all honesty, it just balances out the game better, and I just feel like it makes it more enjoyable, especially if you get in a situation where if you do have a 4-man team and say, you disconnect, which happens a lot in World, unfortunately, and from there, you don't have to worry about fighting a monster that still has the strength and HP of 4 players. It will always drop down and raise depending on the amount of plays that you have, so that is really cool. Now, moving on to the next category of this topic, I'm just going to go ahead and go straight to the first point, and that is Monster Hunter Rise is going to be using the same Monster Hunter World fighting mechanics. So all the changes that were made from the older games to the ones that we have now, where, for example, with a bow gun, you don't have to stand still to reload depending on the reload levels that you have on the bow gun, or with the long sword, you get to keep the live slash and just the fade counter slash, just moves like that. Just all the ways that you were playing your weapons in Monster Hunter World is going to move on to Monster Hunter Rise. So there's not going to be a huge change in the core mechanics of that compared to how the old games used to play, where it was very clunky, didn't have a lot of flexibility in movement. So definitely looking forward to keeping that fighting mechanic. That being said, though, there are of course a few things that are going to be changed. So they were saying that the mounting system, when it comes to mounting on the monster, they stated that there were going to be some changes. We don't know what specifically they mean by this. All we know is that it's not going to be the same mounting system like it was in World. It's not going to be the same mounting system like it was in Generations Ultimate. They are going to be making some changes, which I'm assuming most of the reason as to why it is this they are doing this is with the implementation of the wire bug, where in Generations Ultimate, you had to have, for the most part, aerial style if you wanted to get easy mounts, and you could get them quite frequently. While in World, you couldn't really get mounts that easy. I mean, even though you did have the Clutch Claw where you could jump off with the glider mantle and do that, but now that you have the wire bug, everyone can be in the sky as much as they like and do as much mounting as they like. So I'm sure they're going to make some changes in regards to the balancing of that, but outside of that, a huge feature that is going to be added, so with this being, of course, on the Nintendo Switch, which naturally has the gyro or motion controls, this is going to be really, really exciting for, people who use the bow guns or the bows, just anything ranged, where they say that you are going to have the ability to use the gyro controls in the controller, very similar to like how you could use it in Splatoon 2, if any of you guys played that, where you could, or Breath of the Wild, when you aim an arrow, you can use the motions of the controller in order to get a more accurate shot after doing your big movements with the typical controller stick. From there, of course, we're all familiar with having palicos, or having our partners, our little animals, as teammates, where in Rise, they are outside of the new Palamute that they are showing off as a new member that you can use on your team. You can actually use upwards to 2 partners offline, but only 1 online. So, of course, in World, if you had only 2 hunters in the hunt online, you both got to bring your 1 palico, which was great. However, in this, it seems that whether you want to use the palico or the palamute, even if there's 4 people, you all get to have at least one of your companions along with you, which is really, really nice. And then, of course, if you're offline, you can mix and match if you want 2 Palicos, which they stated that the Palicos are going to be more so focused on the support side when it comes to traps and healing and, just things of that sort, while the Palamute is going to be very attack focused. So just constantly attacking, getting out as much damage as they possibly can, and just, essentially being your right-hand dog with getting as much damage out as possible. And you can mix and match, so you can have 1 Palamute, 1 Palico, or 2 of each. So that's really cool. Another huge thing that this is brand new, again, due to the implementation of the wire bug. You can actually use items while in the air, which, of course, if you watched the Tokyo Game Show or trailer where they showed the hunter throwing the bomb in the sky, during one of the interviews, it was actually stated that you will be able to use more than just simply barrel bombs while in the sky. So who knows, things like maybe drinking a max, like eating a max potion, or throwing a trap on the ground, or even trank bombs or flash bombs, like anything of that nature is going to be really, really cool and a little easier to do, because anytime you have to be still and use your items always makes things a little scarier. So that's going to be really interesting to see. Now, of course, with a little bit of disappointment with some people, for me, I kind of expected this to be the case. They are going to be using the same 14 weapons that they've been using ever since 4U, when the whole Insect Glaive and Charge Blade came out. They're not going to be adding any new weapons, and the biggest reason for this is that with the implementation of the wire bug being a core mechanic of the fighting style of the game, you essentially are getting 14 brand new weapons, because they all now have these new abilities, and they had to take time to implement this wire bug in order to allow you to use new skills, which gives them a whole different feel and a whole different way of playing. So really, it is like we're getting 14 new weapons, but when it comes to the core concept, or going from, instead of a dual blade to, like I say, 2 swords and a shield, we're not going to get anything new like that, unfortunately. But who knows, maybe next game, guys, so don't lose faith for sure. But from there, the only other thing is that this actually isn't a part of combat. We're pretty much going into the other category at this point. Just other little notes that we have that aren't as big of a deal, in my opinion anyway, is that they were stating that they're not so focused on the set number of monsters in this game. Now, with Generations Ultimate, there was a lot. It was very, very similar to, everyone's here. They just want to get as many monsters over as possible. And the thing that made that difficult was just the fact that with the implementation of the aerial style and valor style, guild style, striker style, just all the styles, they didn't change the artificial intelligence of the monsters to be able to adapt and fight against these new styles in Generations Ultimate. Monster Hunter World did have quite a few large monsters. I wouldn't say much more compared to the older games, but it's definitely still up there. So they're not focused on the set number of monsters in this game. They will add whatever fits and whatever they can come up with in the time. But they're not focused on trying to get as many out as possible. And that being said, that allows them time to actually develop the artificial intelligence of the monsters to react based on the movements that you're going to be using. If you use the wire bug, what move you used, just things like that. So definitely do keep an eye out. Even though there's not as many monsters, they are going to be smarter and more dangerous, even though we now have new tools and skills at our disposal. So don't take them lightly. Now from there, they are going to be changing some menu icons, so especially when it comes to being on the Nintendo Switch, at least this was their reasoning. When you're looking at a smaller screen, especially in portable mode, it's a little harder to distinguish some of the menu icons in like the older games. So they changed them up a little bit, just so it makes it a little bit easier to understand or see what it is you're scrolling through when you're going through it really quickly. That also being said, they are going to be keeping the radio menu. So just like the mechanics from World, when switching between your items, they are going to be keeping that, which we already knew. I just thought I would go ahead and throw that in. But outside of that, weapons and armor designs are thankfully going to be going back to their very unique and beautiful designs. They're really, really cool and badass looks, like the older games had. In World, we all knew that they were kind of lackluster until about the end game, like the end game, when they actually had the cool designs. But they are going to be going back to using their really awesome looking designs. So that makes me really happy to see that coming back, being the veteran that I am. Outside of that, they are going to be providing diverse character creation options. So I know that when we got into World, there was a whole lot of options. So hopefully, even though we are going back on the portable hardware, they're still going to give you just as many, if not more, options in Rise as compared to really any of the games that they had in the past. So they really specified on that. So that's going to be exciting to take a look at. From there, they went ahead and explained in some of the articles and just some of the videos I watched that there are not going to be any wire bug related skills when it comes to skills that would be on the armor or in the decorations. I could imagine this to be totally understandable, just for the core reason that the wire bug is going to be a core mechanic to fighting, and I could see why they wouldn't want it to be too abused, knowing how mobile and just overall how much stronger of a hunter it makes you. So if you were to max out your wire bug skills, if that was a thing, then it would be something that someone could probably cheese and just, I mean, it would make a really fun build, but almost make it unfair. So I can completely understand that. So just no wire bug related skills by any means. So just a couple more things from there. They were sharing that there is going to be an option for those of you who do not enjoy the new voices that the hunters have. You know, like you hear them shouting it in the game as they kind of do moves or just overall traveling. They actually do talk now, which to me is really exciting. But they do give you the option that if you do want to toggle the hunter's voice to go from actually speaking English to going to the Japanese language or to the old-fashioned hunter talk, if you want to put it that way. So if you do like more of the Link aesthetic where it's just a bunch of grunting and mumbling for the most part, then you could go back to that choice. So that's cool. The last thing here when it comes to just the overall game is that there is not going to be no implementation of voice chat. The reason for that is, of course, with it being portable, they're just not going to be providing that. You know, in fact, that's probably not much of a reason, but, you know, no one really liked the whole Nintendo Switch voice chat function over the phone app at all. Like, pretty much no one used it. So, yeah, that's not going to be moving forward compared to Monster Hunter World, for example, where there was always voice chat all the time, which, of course, you could always turn off, but in Monster Hunter Rise, there's not going to be any at all, so definitely do keep that in mind. And actually a couple more things. There is not going to be no Prowler Mode. So no Prowler class that you can play in Generations Ultimate where you're actually able to play as one of the Palicos and unlock super cool skills and just have a good time doing that. So that is not going to be moving forward. I think that was just really just a one-time for fun sakes thing that they wanted to add to GU, just as something new that you can do. But obviously, if you go back and watch some of the videos on YouTube or just looking up builds, Prowler Mode is insane. Gathering with it was much easier, so it added a cool new feature, but it's just something that they don't want to keep at the core of the game. But the last thing I do want to share that is actually something I pretty much expected is that they do not have any plans for G rank or Master rank if you only played World and understand it that way. Essentially, Master rank or G rank is the rank above high rank. And so especially with the older veterans of the games who have gotten these before, including myself, how they tend to go about these games is that they will release one game where, of course, it has the story, and then from there you go onto the online gathering hubs, and it will have low rank quests and high rank quests in the gathering hub. Now, of course, you get low rank and high rank throughout the story, but after that, then that's it. Of course, there will be a couple of secret monsters, but most of the time, after this first game they then release a second one, calling it, for example, Monster Hunter 4 was out, and then they came out with Monster Hunter 4 Ultimate, and then Monster Hunter Rise, so who knows, they're probably going to come out with a Monster Hunter Rise Ultimate, which will then include essentially all the same quests and all the same gameplay you did in the previous game, but with the implementation of G rank or Master rank, so that you can get better gear, better monsters, newer monsters, and just things like that. But yeah, guys, I apologize. This was a little bit more long-winded and more talk-focused. I just wanted to bring you guys, again, all the news, which is now, again, considered old news because I'm way behind on this, but do forgive me, it's not always going to stay this way with me being behind on videos, I promise. But yeah, this is all the notes that I had from reading over all the news articles, watching over videos. Again, I will have everything provided in the description below. But if you did enjoy this information and want to keep up to date with me specifically as we go over the news for this game and any leaks or just gameplay footage when the game comes out, please do consider giving this video a like and subscribe to the channel. We're slowly building our community every single day, and I would love to have any one of you who are new join, because now that I look at it, a mere tiny percentage of you who are watching this are actually subscribed. So if you guys enjoy this content and want to support, please do consider it. It would mean the absolute world to me. But also, to let you all know, I am beginning to build up and start streaming on my Twitch channel at twitch.tv/sculpted. So if you guys want to head over there and hang out with me during my live gameplay sessions of Monster Hunter, I would love to see you all there. Anyway, outside of that, thank you so much everyone for coming by, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Boop!